Okay, so I want you all to take a look at this number for a moment. Think about what it might mean or how it might correlate to modern society. So what this number actually is the amount of gun deaths per year that resulted of gun-related crime. This was reported by the Institute of Medicine and the National Research Council, but does not include the 80,000 or more people who are injured as a result of gun-related crime. So last year there's a huge scare across the U.S. of school shootings, from elementary schools all the way up to universities. So the controversy that I'll be talking about of gun control affects all of us directly in some way. The debate is essentially based on the Second Amendment, as we will get into in a few moments. And I've done extensive research in order to provide you guys with as much information as possible. So I'll be discussing the history of the argument to ban guns, and the argument to protect the Second Amendment right. So now that we've introduced the topic, we can get into the history. Government archives say that the debate surrounds the Second Amendment, which is listed right here, or written right here. The amendment is protected by the Bill of Rights, but is being questioned today. According to History.com, events like the Columbine shooting in 1999 have really sparked the debate. The shooting was one of the largest mass shootings of the time at a high school, and it sent a huge scare across the U.S. In addition, the U.S. is looking at a lot of other countries for answers on the gun control debate. Fortune magazine reports on the large decrease in gun crime in Australia after they banned assault and military-style weapons from their society. But then there's also BBC News reporting on Venezuela, who banned guns in their society, and they call it a failed attempt to bolster security. They didn't get quite the results they expected. So now we've talked about a little bit of the history, we can get into the argument to ban guns. So as seen from this number before, there are a lot of gun deaths in the U.S. that are a result of gun-related crime. At the beginning of 2018, CNN reported that there were about 23 school shootings in the first 21 weeks of the year. And this played a major role in sparking a call for a gun ban. Headlines across news stations were all reporting on this topic, and it suggested that the school safety of young students and even adult students in college was being highly threatened. A lot of the shootings reported by CNN show that many of the shootings were done by people who were under the age of 18, meaning that somehow students and young adults were able to access these guns, whether it be from a family member or friend or illegally purchasing it from a seller. But either way, they're able to access it somehow because they're present in the society around them. In addition, according to Isabella Krasnica of the University of Bialystok, the gun control advocates are focusing on this first part of the Second Amendment here. So this portion of the Second Amendment is really important because she claims that when interpreted in a certain way, this shall not be, the right to bear arms shall not be infringed, may only apply to people of the militia, of the well-regulated militia. So if this is the case, then the government can constitutionally take the common person's right to bear arms away. So now that we talked about the argument to ban guns, we can get into the argument to protect the Second Amendment right. So as I mentioned before, the Second Amendment protects our right to bear arms. And gun advocates actually focus on this part down here. Shall not be infringed. Basically, that means it shall not be interfered with or eliminated. The civil liberties and the Bill of Rights are intended to protect us from the government. According to Krasnica again, anti-federalists throughout American history have feared a tyrannical government. And this Second Amendment is just one of the ways that we as people can defend ourselves if the government decided to become tyrannical for any reason. In addition, guns have been used for self-defense in many cases. Gary Clark of Florida State University claims that injury risk during an attack or an act of violence in which one of the aggressors has a gun are significantly reduced if one of the victims themselves has a gun to defend themselves and the people around them. So the question that this proposes is that how can someone defend themselves from an aggressor with a gun if they don't have one to defend themselves and the people around them? So by banning guns from the society, it would be unarming law-abiding citizens so that they can't defend themselves effectively. So we've discussed protecting the right to bear arms. Now we can get into some conclusion with some final thoughts. So I've discussed the historical background of the argument to ban firearms, and the argument to protect the Second Amendment right. So the final question of this debate or controversy is, do you feel safer in a society with or without firearms? Thank you.